Good afternoon, Ma'am BM. Good afternoon, classmates. We are the Group 5 and we assigned to report the Chapter 6, which are the tools used in operational audit. The first question is, how can internal auditors use histograms during internal audits? These are examples of histograms. On page 143 of Chapter 6 of the book, histograms are defined in the first paragraph as charts that show the frequency distribution of numerical data using rectangles, each of which represents intervals. Histograms are used to assess the distribution of data and help to identify how the data points are distributed. Through histograms, internal auditors may present vast quantities of data that are difficult to interpret in tabular form, then demonstrate the frequency of occurrence of these data values and easily explain the data distribution. Since internal auditors examine variable or continuous data, the histogram will be an effective tool for them. Using the histogram, internal auditors can visually compare if current process information or data is similar to the previous ones. In this way, internal auditors can easily pinpoint anomalies and improvements. It can visually show how the process is performing and progressing. Also, using histograms, internal auditors can test if two or more identical processes have the same distribution of data, which will provide a deeper understanding of the process they review. Question number 2 is, how can management use control charts as part of their ongoing monitoring activities? This is the example of control chart. On page 144 of Chapter 6 of the book, control charts are defined as a graph used to plot and study how a process changes over time. This tool will be helpful to internal auditors since the controls of an organization is also necessary to be monitored. By doing so, the management can have useful information that will help the internal auditors to identify the strengths and weaknesses of the said controls and what improvements should be applied. As a student, I also use different educational tools to create assignments, projects, reports, and other classroom documents. So one of the most challenging activities is the reporting. Reports allows us to do research on a topic and present information on that subject in an ordered manner. To present my report effectively and efficiently, I use PowerPoint or Canva as a tool to organize the gathered information of my report. I use short sentences and phrases so that my audience can understand it easily. So when you give your audience too much information, you make it harder for them to know what is most important in your report.
Hello, good day. I am Marcus Ilige and I am answering the questions number 3 and 4. For question number 3, how can an internal auditor use takt time during internal audits? Takt time is the rate at which a production operation produces output. The term is derived from the German word Taktzeit, which translates to rhythm. In addition, takt time refers to the amount of time per unit for a business to produce enough goods to meet customers' demand. This tool is useful to ensure that the production flows most efficiently so that there will be no delays or bottlenecks. Internal auditors should use to monitor the production process very closely to ensure that takt time is used if there is, for some reason, a certain stage is finished earlier than expected or fails to keep up, and then internal auditors can look for ways to rebalance the production stages. It also assists internal auditors to set the performance expectation on the production process so organizations meet their goals and even surpass it. The formula for takt time is equal to total production per time period over divided by customer demand per period. Let me give you an example. A mortgage loan processing operation with staff of 10 operators that receive an average of 180 loan applications per day. The unit spends 6 hours actively processing these applications per day after deducting lunch breaks and required meeting. Takt time would be calculated as follows. Takt time is equal to 10 operators multiplied by 6 hours multiplied by 60 minutes per hour to get a total production time per period divided by 180 applicants per day, which represents the customer demand per period, and it will be equal to 3,600 over 180, and then let's simplify it to get the takt time. The answer is 20 minutes per applicant. This means that the operator should spend on average 20 minutes processing each loan application. Some applications may take less time, others may take more, but on the average they must keep 20 minutes per application. If it takes them longer, there will be delays. Takt time is a good practice in managing several outputs in a given time. It helps internal auditor to be more systematic and will value time. On the other hand, in the real life scenario, most of the auditing firm did not follow it since they have their own system, and according to my source, there is a term called SLA, Service Level Agreement, and ETA, Estimated Time of Agreement. This too is used to inform the customer or client will find that the output will be delivered without using tax time. If these two conditions bottlenecks, internal auditors will have a report delayed reasons explaining why it was delayed, wherein they inform the client or customer and with their ETA. Next question number 4 is how can 5S model be used during internal audits? 5S composed of Seiton, set in order, Seiri, sort, Seisa, shine, Seikitsu, standardize, Suke, sustain. The primary goal of 5S is to minimize waste and improve efficiency, thus reducing manufacturing costs while increasing productivity, safety, and employee satisfaction. An operational audit is defined as an analysis of the way an organization does operations to point out changes that will enhance its effectiveness and performance. Implementing the 5S model can help an organization achieve its goal and objectives. A clean and organized work area can help internal auditors to easily identify the root of potential problems that may arise and make improvements out of it. Also, it can reduce the amount of time spent looking for supplies, which can be easier for the internal auditors to acquire materials needed for the review. It may also create a healthy and clean working environment for employees, which will promote motivation. In this way, it will reduce risk that an internal auditor should control and eliminate. Thank you.
Question number 5. How can management use RASS charts to improve accountability in operating units? RASS stands for responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. Those who put effort to complete the task are the responsible. The person who approves the finished work of the responsible is the accountable. The individuals whose expertise is very crucial to the task success are the consulted. While informed, these are the people who should be kept updated about the activities performed. So RASS charts are helpful tools that clarify and organize the jobs within an organization, hence removing misunderstanding among the staff. Employees may quickly identify their duties and responsibilities as a result of the efficient method that roles are distributed. So just like in the example, Madeline is a responsible person of doing the project planning, while Babette is a consulted or who will assist or guide Madeline. And Carl is the accountable, which is the last step or the one who's going to judge if Madeline's work is approved or not. Because there is a clear division of duties and responsibilities, RASS charts are useful for enhancing accountability and resolving a problem by avoiding finger pointing when activity was not performed as intended. The employees are given a clear understanding of what they must perform to support the success of the company. Question number 6. Describe the benefits of a communication plan and a communication matrix. On page 179 of the chapter 6, a communication plan offers a framework for communicating, while the communication matrix is used to summarize the communication plan by describing details of the communication activities used during the team or department activities. So communication plan defines what data will be spread, when and where this will be communicated, and who should receive the information, and when and where will this be communicated. Details about the communication are contained in the communication matrix. These tools will aid management in ensuring that the message reaches is comprehended by the target audience. So here is an example of communication matrix. We have 5 columns here: the communication, purpose, medium, frequency, and audience. Messages and information should be communicated to everyone as much as possible to make everyone in the organization get on the same page. In this way, everyone is informed of the happenings and aware what they can do to contribute to the success of the organization.
The 7th question is, what are the elements of a SIPOC map and how can using it improve the understanding of a unit under review? Page number 181 provides the elements of a SIPOC map, and these elements are suppliers, inputs, process, outputs, and customers. Suppliers are those who provide the inputs, which are then processed to produce the outputs for the customers or recipients. The 5 elements of this map are useful because they provide internal auditors with a high-level overview of the program or procedure under review. Internal auditors can use a SIPOC map to review effectively and efficiently a specific unit. In this tool, internal auditors can gain a better understanding of the process they are examining and can also point out errors or opportunities for improvement. All of the elements captured in a SIPOC map are important for fully understanding what the auditors will be reviewing. Failure to fully understand any of the matrix elements can limit the auditor's effectiveness in developing the scope during planning, as well as the team's ability to effectively understand the program or process during fieldwork. Additionally, it aids in identifying areas that must be separated because they are unnecessary or minimally helpful to the organization. To gain a better understanding of the unit under review, internal auditors should examine every piece of information or data contained in a SIPOC map. As a student, I believe that the purpose behind this tool is to help us understand that products or services don't just happen. They are the result of a process starting with raw materials and ending with something that will be sold in a shop or store. In this tool, I was able to understand the process of how products or services are made, where they are made, who makes them, and why they need to make it that way. The eighth question is, explain how using the principles of Poka-yoke or mistake proofing can help further the goal of preventing errors, accidents, and operational breakdowns. According to page 182, Poka-yoke or mistake proofing refers to any mechanism in a process that helps in the elimination of errors as early as possible. Its goal is to eliminate product defects by preventing, fixing, or drawing attention to human errors. By putting the Poka-yoke principles into practice, systems or processes can operate correctly for the first time and become practically error-proof, assisting an organization in achieving its goal of preventing errors, accident, and operational breakdowns. Since not all anomalies or errors can be completely avoided, mistake proofing aims to also identify existing defects and lessen their severity. I believe that the principles of Poka-yoke or mistake proofing can be applied in all areas of our life, from work to school and even home. For example, we all understand that a balance sheet should balance. If it does not, something is wrong and you must fix it. As an accounting student, we can use the Poka-yoke or mistake proofing principle to double check the entries to ensure that they are correct and accurate, because we may have omitted or duplicated assets, liabilities, or equity, or miscalculated the totals. That's why we prepare a trial balance to ensure that all general ledger entries are properly balanced before proceeding to the next process, which is to create an official balance sheet. As I've come to realize, with the use of Poka-yoke or mistake proofing, you will be able to make better decisions about how things should be done by using less trial and error. You will be able to find problems faster by identifying areas where you might have made mistakes or simply not thought about what was needed before starting work on something. Also, you will be able to identify dependencies between different areas of work, which means that one area cannot be started without consideration for others first.
So question number 9 is to describe how the 5 whys can be used to identify the root cause of an operational issue. 5 whys is one of the tools that is used to identify the root cause of problems and issues. It is one of the simplest tools for RCA or root cause analysis. It does not require statistical analysis and it is easy to use. The primary goal of this technique is to determine the primary source of a defect or problem by repeating the question. So this figure is a representation of how the 5 whys works and how root cause can be identified. As you can see, to finally come up with the true root cause, the 5 whys is needed. On the page 185 to 186 of chapter 6 on the book, it describes how the 5 whys can be used to identify the root cause of an operational issue. Because not all issues have a common root cause, so to discover several root causes, the process must be repeated by asking different series of questions. Each answer forms the base for the next question, and then the response to one why can give an explanation that will uncover the other why, and so forth. To arrive at the root cause of the problem, it often takes 5 whys to ask, but sometimes it can take more or less than 5 whys. And by asking a sequence of why questions, the exact reason that causes the issue or problem can be identified and can be addressed. To fully understand the process of 5 whys, here's an example. So the problem statement is that floor is wet. So why number 1 is the water leak from the ceiling. So the initial answer or solution is to mop up the floor and dry the water. However, if water continues to fall on the floor, mopping the water is inadequate solution to the problem. So we should ask why again. Why number 2? Why is there water on the floor? Answer is because the pipe overhead is leaking. We can stop there and repair the pipe, but we should probably ask why again. So why number 3 is why is the pipe leaking? The answer is because it has poor fittings. And then why number 4? Why did the pipe have poor fittings? The answer is because the plumbing work was done by an unqualified plumber. We should ask why again. The last why, or why number 5, why did we use an unqualified plumber? The answer is because of poor procurement practices. The plumbing work was granted to this plumber through favoritism rather than skill and a proven history of good workmanship. Therefore, we now know what caused the water on the floor, and with that knowledge, we can now move forward and address the contracting process to eliminate favoritism and not to hire that plumber again. So question number 10, what are the benefits of RCA, or root cause analysis? According to Murdoch, 2016, on page 185, root cause analysis is described as determining why a problem has arisen and not just analyzing or reporting on the issue itself. RCA was simple and is widely used that addresses the question of why the problem exists in the first place. As you can see here are the steps of root cause analysis. Step 1 is to define the problem, step 2 is to determine the causal relationships, and step 3 is to identify effective solutions, and step 4 is to implement and track solutions. The advantages and benefits of root cause analysis are: It shows links between causes and symptoms of problems, works at the root itself to solve problems, and offer concrete proof of cause and effect and solutions. RCA also focuses on solving the issue rather than blaming others, and it resolves the problems once and for all. And then by finding issues early, the RCA greatly decreases the cost and the time is spent. And lastly, in the early stages, defining the source of the problem helps to provide process enhancement.